everybody, welcome back to Chortle Games. I'm Jake, and with me as always, the Stream King, the Far Cry guy, the man with a mic and a lot of questions, Steven.
What is Steven's question for today?
I don't really know.
That is the question we will be answering
on this podcast. I came up with that name for you, or like that introduction for you, and I was like, that's really good. That's really good because we just did forward compatible, and that's like the Jedi's like that's his quote.
Katarn. Not a Jedi. I'm just a guy with a lightsaber and some questions.
Yeah. I was like, hey, Steven will really like that, and so there you go. But then I was like,
I did like that.
I don't know what questions Steven actually has, so.
Do I have questions more than I have answers? That is the question we'll be answering on Chortlecast today.
Because this is Chortlecast, the official podcast of Chortle Games, where we talk about video games, TV shows, movies, anime, whatever the heck we want to talk about. Today we've got a great show for you this week. Because we missed last week, a lot of things piled up. And then I've been basically AKA from the channel. I was on a Let's Play, but that's it. Because Steven has been hogging up all the time, doing this forward compatible
thing. Hogging up all the time.
Hogging it all up. Just like, Jake, no, you can't do anything today.
You know me, attention whore. Love the spotlight. That's me.
Him. That's what he does. So I've had several this is just kind of a really interesting combination of a week that was really well suited for me playing games, but not for getting any kind of work done, because I've got a lot of work to do with forward compatible to finish this up. And actually, we'll get there in a minute. But
my part's done.
Steven's part is done. But I had so much free time this week because Lee Allison was out of town. So if forward compatible had been last week, or just the way forward compatible works, there's no time for me to edit until it's all over. So I've had all this free time. If you hadn't picked this week, Steven, we probably could have done a co-op stream every night.
Well, you know what, Jake? If they hadn't picked this week to re-release Jedi Knight 2, then I wouldn't have picked.
I know.
Week. So,
I'm not, It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's the universe did not align. But it did align in a way because I had a lot of free time to play games. So I've got tons of games to talk about for this week.
But not enough free time to play a game with your buddy Steven,
who was streaming Star Wars Jedi Knights 2.
I didn't stream that much. Just
every day.
Different streams.
Just every day of the week. Oh man. Yeah. Anyway, we got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about Untitled Goose Game. I want to talk about Link's Awakening. I want to talk about Apple Arcade. I want to talk about this little game called Groundhog Day, like father, like son VR. Steven wants to talk about Divinity's Second Sin or whatever. What's it called?
Divinity Original Sin 2, a game that I have talked about on the channel a little bit, but I'm actually getting to play it now.
Been playing a little bit of it. He's going to want to talk about that. We'll probably discuss a little bit about forward compatible that's been happening this past week, and concluding,
but not too much.
Concluding after this podcast is aired, and then we got a lot of news. We're going to talk about Last of Us Part 2. We're going to talk about Spider-Man coming back to the MCU, and then Kevin Feige potentially saving the Star Wars universe. So let's just dive in.
Someone's got to do it, and if anyone was do it, it's
going to be Kevin. It's going to be Kevin Feige. So why don't we just start there? Let's talk about that. Steven, Kevin Feige is set to develop a Star Wars movie. You're the Star Wars big boy. You've just been knee deep in Star Wars this week. What do you think about this?
I really have. So it's funny because you know that meme of the girl who explaining something really in depth, and then the other side of the meme is a girl listening, just like, what are you talking about? Looking at this girl like she's crazy. Mm-hmm. That's been me in Star Wars talking to Anna this week. Because and I won't spoil the review, but it's had me thinking a lot about Star Wars then and Star Wars now. And I just talked a lot about the differences between Disney Star Wars and pre-Disney Star Wars, and I kid you not, I said to her, I was just like, maybe Kevin Feige just needs to come by and save the Star Wars universe. And then 2 hours later, news breaks that Kevin Feige is doing a Star Wars film. And so I might be a prophet.
I might be prophetic. I don't know.
But I think it's great news because I don't know if Kevin is the same way with Star Wars that he is with Marvel, but we have seen that Kevin is the kind of guy who he doesn't see dollar signs first. He doesn't see like what
he looks at a project and says, "Wouldn't it be cool if we did this?"
Yes.
And then
he looks at a project like we look at what they're giving us. Like he is a fan of the property and he creates things for fans, and that's great. And he is directly responsible for a lot of the success of the MCU. But if he is even a fraction of how he is with Marvel, with Star Wars, then that's really good news.
Yeah. I don't know the answer, obviously, because I don't know Kevin very well, but I've seen articles that their headline is usually it's one of two things. It's either just, hey, here's the news, Kevin Feige is developing a Star Wars, or Kevin Feige developing a Star Wars is bad news for Marvel because he may leave for Lucasfilm. And so I am tentatively excited. Oh, to answer your question, I think yes, he is very passionate about Star Wars like he is Marvel. But I hope that doesn't mean he leaves Marvel, because I think Marvel's in a really weird spot right now where we've kind of closed this chapter, but this world has grown and has so much more growing to do, and we already know of a lot that's happening. And obviously Kevin has probably guided, what we know is coming, and probably even stuff that we don't know is coming yet. But, can the Marvel Universe sustain itself without Kevin kind of just masterminding it? Like, could someone else step in and mastermind Marvel with the groundwork that he's laid, or how is that going to work? So,
honestly, I don't think I would mind too much if Kevin left the MCU for Star Wars, because I'm at the point with the MCU, and this is going to sound crazy coming from me, but I'm at the point to where I'm probably going to start opting out of projects. They're probably going to start being Marvel movies that I'm just not going to go see.
Really?
There are Marvel TV shows that I'm not going to watch because there's so much of it, and I don't have the desire to see Natalie Portman as Thor. I don't have the desire to really see Ms. Marvel yet.
You mean you're telling me you don't want to watch Vision and Wanda in a 50s sitcom?
I really don't want to watch Vision and Wanda in a 50s sitcom. Like it's just become such an oversaturated thing that I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that the best days of the MCU are behind us. We peaked.
Yeah.
And moving forward, it's not going to be the same. And Kevin Feige can't save that. Because when it gets to a point where a franchise is bigger than itself, if that makes sense, like if it's expanded to such a point to where no one man can rein everything together, then honestly, I think that his services would be better suited reviving Star Wars, like making a Star Wars cinematic universe that Disney wanted to do, but put it underneath a guy who is a fan first.
Right.
Like that's what we need, because the reason Star Wars, the reason Force Awakens and Last Jedi, I'm very careful about saying episode there because I don't consider them Star Wars. I don't consider them canon. Like I'm sorry. This was me writing the forward compatible review all over again. I was having a really hard time staying on topic. But they were made with dollar signs in mind first. That's why they were rehashes. They just wanted to recapture the magic that adults felt when they saw A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back for the first time, and they wanted to make it in such a way to where they could get that new generation and that older generation together, but their first thought was, let's put people in theater seats. But hopefully with someone like Kevin, who just loves the property and wants to see cool stories first, and acknowledges that if you make a good story, you market it well, everything, that the people will come. You don't need to treat them like they're idiots. Hopefully, with someone like him doing that, then we could have Star Wars revived better than we've ever had, because it's about time that happened. Disney's had the franchise for a while. The video games are hopefully getting some traction. The books fell off to where they weren't very good. The movies have sucked. Like,
comics
it is
well, but that's about it.
Yeah, I've heard comics have been doing all right, but it's just about time that Star Wars was the powerhouse that it was in the early 2000s again. Because Star Wars was killing it back then. And I want to see that. I want to see a Star Wars where it has that multimedia synergy without that feeling of needing to answer to the mouse, you know?
Get out of here, Mickey. Speaking of answering...
I love you, Mickey, but you're ruining everything I love.
Speaking of answering to the mouse, Sony and Disney somehow worked out this whole deal. Spider-Boy is back. He's back in the MCU. Everybody can rest easy. I don't know why. So that's great news, Steven, or at least to me. I'm excited. I'm glad he's back. I don't think Spider-Man 3 would have made any sense without this partnership and connection.
Right.
I personally think it would be really sad to not have Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU anymore. And, like, who knows if they would even be able to acknowledge him, or, like, where is he? Like, what's happening? Like, it was all just sad. What I don't understand, so I have a couple fears. I read these articles and these announcements, and they're all talking about, yes, we're making a third movie, and he'll appear. The third movie's coming out July 16th, 2021.
Which is super quick if you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. Because we're almost in 2020. I mean, 2021 will be here before you know it. I mean, there were movies announced at D23 and Comic-Con and stuff that are further beyond that. So, anyway, I'm super glad about this. I've been hearing, I look at these articles and they talk about they're doing the third movie together. Kevin Feige's going to be producing whatever. I think Disney's getting 25% instead of the...
Yeah, it's up from a $5.95 to a $25.75.
Yes, exactly. Which they originally were asking to go up to 50-50, but they dropped to 25. Yes. So still a big jump for Disney from where they were, but whatever. Anyway, yada, yada, yada. I've seen, and all the articles I've read talk about Spider-Man will also appear in the MCU movies. But I've seen other people saying, oh, this is just for the third movie. Like, they're not going to do a fourth Spider-Man movie with Kevin.
So the actual contract that has been agreed upon is a third Spider-Man movie and one more undisclosed movie.
Interesting.
Not necessarily a Spider-Man movie, but a movie that Spider-Man will appear in, kind of like he did Avengers, Infinity War, and Civil War. So what that makes me think, and this is just my cynical side coming out, they're writing him out. They are using Spider-Man 3 to complete whatever arc they set him on, and then they're going to use one more movie appearance to write Tom Holland out of the MCU cleanly so that Sony can take Spider-Man back, do their own thing, cast a new actor, and have their own universe.
Boo.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It's good news because we're getting more Tom Holland Spider-Man, but it's potentially bad news because we could just be getting his send-off, pretty much.
Well, even if it is just for a send-off, at least they're going to do it cleanly. I really just hated the prospect of, poof, he's gone, and what's that third movie going to look like? It can't reference anything that's happened before. It would have, in my opinion, would have just been really, really weird, really, really crazy. But anyway, it's good news that he's back. Hopefully, I hope that they'll do this and they'll work something out to keep this going. But who knows? Everybody, Tony had to die at some point. Spider-Man's going to have to go too. We'll just see where it goes.
And yet Tony is still around, and he's going to be in the Black Widow movie.
I'm really curious to see how that's going to work. I mean, obviously it's in the past. I get that. But, what are they going to do? How is he going to be involved? What's going to happen? I'm really curious.
Yeah.
What if it's like an alternate dimension and Tony lived?
I mean, I said before that I thought that what would be the cool thing to do was to make Black Widow take place in an alternate dimension / timeline so that they could culminate these different movies that are coming out between now and the next Avengers movie into a Secret Wars movie, to where they combine all the timelines into one central timeline so we can get Black Widow back and then some other characters like the X-Men, Fantastic Four, so that you have them written into our timeline without it being retcon.
I'm all about it.
That'd be cool.
All about it. It'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Let's talk about PlayStation's State of Play for September, Steven. Overall, really exciting, but mostly because of one thing. They showed the trailer, a story trailer for Last of Us Part 2, and gave us a release date. February something of 2020.
February 20.
Yes,
feel
that's
like.
right. February 20 of 2020.
Like 2020.
Mm-hmm. Lots of 20s in there.
Yeah.
So first reaction to hearing that date, shock. Way earlier than I thought. And also, it's going to be coming to PS4.
Go ahead. That doesn't... I hate saying sentences like this because it makes me sound like a pretentious tool, but that didn't surprise me, because I've been over here kind of expecting a last minute, hey, it's coming out in December or March or something soon.
Right.
I've been kind of anticipating that, and it's probably going to follow the same pattern that Last of Us 1 did.
Where it was the very last, it was on the very tail end of the PS3, and so they re-released the remaster on PS4 pretty early.
Right. And so most of the people that played Last of Us 1 actually played it on the PS4, even though it released initially on the PS3.
Yeah, that's certainly how I played it. So,
that's same here. So I wasn't surprised by that necessarily, but I was happy to see it.
Don't get me wrong, I'm glad it's coming to PS4.
Yeah.
The big three games that we know about from Sony right now are Death Stranding, Last of Us Part 2, and then Ghost of Tsushima.
Do we really need to call Death Stranding a big title, though?
I'm right there with you, Steven. But if you think about what Sony at E3, and obviously this year is very different, but at E3 for Sony, they typically have three major games that you see for one or two E3s, and that's like their big title. That you're saying, this is why I buy a PlayStation for if for nothing else, it's these games: God of War, Spider-Man. I'm going to throw Days Gone in there, even though I think that ended up being a lot lower than they wanted it to be, but they emphasized it so hard.
It was a priority for a while.
It was a priority. Right? They thought it was going to do a lot better. Now I think we're, the next big three right now are Death Stranding, Last of Us, and Ghost of Tsushima. So I've been afraid that those three were going to end up being launch titles for the PS5. As you said, they may still be launch games for the PS5, but they just get a remaster really early on to kind of build up that library. A lot of people have been saying, is PS5 going to be backwards compatible? And then does a remaster even matter? Because you can just play all of those games on your PS5, and that's a whole nother discussion. But anyway, this gives me hope for Ghost of Tsushima that it will probably be like the last game that you can play on your PS4. Obviously there will probably be other little titles that come out, but that'll be the big game that's the last thing.
I think it'll have a mutual release. I think that when it comes out, we're already going to have the PS5, and it's going to launch on both PS4 and PS5. Either that or they'll just make it a PS5 title and say,
sucks.
Tough luck, stick with the times.
Stick with the times.
Which would be it'd be the smart business move.
Yeah, I mean that would sell. I mean that's gonna. I'm gonna get a PS5 either way, but yeah, I've got to play Ghost of Tsushima. So give me that as soon as you can.
Right.
I don't know. It's interesting, but what did you think of the story trailer, Steven?
So we're just skipping over the rest of the state of play. None of that matters.
Do you want to talk about anything else? That humanity where you put a bunch of crowds together, that looks really cool. Probably a fun Let's Play.
I was I'm trying to think of what else was shown.
The weird Katamari game really weirded me out.
Okay, I remember now. There are two things that I wanted to address before we get into Last of Us. First, that Modern Warfare story trailer.
Ooh, that was good.
It was good. Like, it made me want to play the campaign, like, a lot. So I might have to pick it up just because they did a really good job of, like, making it feel like a super cinematic action movie. But you're playing it, you know? Like, it just seemed really cool. And Modern Warfare's story was always really good back in the day. But then also, I've been wanting to ask this for a while, but now that we've actually got gameplay, I guess I can expect more of an answer. But how do you feel about Medieval? Like, you personally? It seems like your kind of game a little bit.
Yeah, there was that they showed that bow gameplay, and I was like, should I be paying attention to this? But no, when they first announced Medieval, I was real butthurt because I think at the time Spyro's remake had not been announced.
Yes.
Which is really funny to me that was announced first, but then Spyro is already here, So, like, I don't know why I was so butthurt, but anyway. I don't have any connection to Medieval.
Yeah.
I was not that. I didn't have a PlayStation early enough to have that game. It obviously wasn't advertised to me at any point, so I never had a desire to play
I had never really heard of it until
All-Stars?
This. Well, yeah, All-Stars as well.
That's
right.
the only way that I know who he is and like what game he came from. So, seriously, up until probably this state of play, I have not cared about it at all. Not to say that I care much more, but like I did. I mean, seriously, I saw the game. I saw him shooting a bow in third person, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. Do I need to look at this? Do I need to pay much attention?" I don't really have much desire to get it or look at it. If reviews come out and it's like, man, 10 out of 10, this game is great, then I might really be like, well, crap, I might want to watch, look at this and look into this. Something else I will talk about. I freaking love the Death Stranding controller that they showed.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool design.
I really want that controller. And I'm just telling myself there's no reason to get it. I have no reason to get it.
There's no reason to get it. It may be a cool design, but just think that every time you would be holding that controller, you'd basically, like, they're wanting you to feel like you're holding a baby. That's basically what they're going for.
So let me tell you, Steven, I'm going to be...
a BB.
I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm thinking more and more about getting Death Stranding.
Why?
I'll tell you why, since you asked.
Was there a bow?
There's not a bow.
Does he have a cape? Does the baby have a cape? Are there swords?
The baby. No, just now that we're seeing gameplay, I sort of get it, and I understand what the game is now. And then, really, my main reason is similar to why I got Days Gone, which Days Gone, I told myself what I'm about to say right now. But then when I really started looking into it, I became obsessed. And I was like, I've got to play this game. Death Stranding is one of our big Sony exclusives. And it's like, why do I have this system if I'm not going to play the big exclusive games that come to it? So I'm getting closer and closer to like putting in a pre-order or maybe going to get it at GameStop.
Jake, just because you own a PlayStation doesn't mean you have to play every exclusive they release.
Not every exclusive, but the big ones, it's kind of like, this is what they're making for me because I own a system. I need to try it. But I don't know. I'm getting closer and closer to that point, but I haven't done a pre-order yet or anything.
I really hope this game sucks. I'm going to lose so much credibility if this game doesn't suck.
Another game they showed that I really liked, Arise, A Simple Story. That's the one where it started with
that looked really
the Vikings burning him, and then he came back up.
It looked kind of like Journey, but God of War.
Bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that really got me going because I was expecting it to be like some Viking war game that's kind of got a cartoon art style. Right. And this was just kind of the start where like their leader had died and now you're going to whatever. But then when they burned him.
Yeah, it's like his journey to Valhalla or something.
Yeah, and the smoke blew away and he was in heaven or whatever, the afterlife. I was like, whoa, this took this was not the direction I was expecting this to go. So that was really cool. They showed off some great PSVR titles. The LA Noire VR case files looks good.
The LA Noire, that sounds good. What was the Secret Agent one?
E-Spire one. As soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, I want to play this, but I know Steven is going to love this.
Yeah, I'm a simple man. Just give me guns.
Give me VR. But they also showed Gore, which was that big like gladiator fighting looking game. That's been out on Oculus, and I've seen hilarious videos of that, so I can't wait to play and try that. There's some other stuff, but that was really good. They talked about Civilization. They talked about PlayStation Plus lineup for October is MLB The Show and Last of Us 2 remastered. Not 2, just Last of Us.
Which, if you haven't played Last of Us, play it. It's one of those games that like. It is something that every gamer should experience. And I'm saying this not as like Mr. Oh High and Mighty, because I only played it, last year? That was my first time playing it, something like that.
Really? That's right. I remember that whole thing happening.
And holy crap, it blew me away. Like one of the best like gaming experiences I've had was playing Last of Us. So if you're a fan of like story driven, I know I'm kind of like pretty much everybody that watches this has either played it themselves or watched a playthrough on YouTube. But if you haven't, definitely check it out. It's amazing. It's very good.
Now that we've come full circle and we're back on Last of Us, what did you think of that Last of Us Part 2 story trailer?
And
before we get much deeper, I will say, if you are just like a diehard, I don't want to hear anything about this game, just skip ahead a couple minutes because I personally,
we get some revelations.
Personally was a little frustrated. I felt like they spoiled something in this trailer, but we'll get there. So just fair warning for everybody, especially Brody. I don't know if Brody's listening or if he already knows, but
Brody, get out of here.
As soon as I watched this trailer, I was like, I need to tell Brody not to watch it because I don't care about spoilers, and I'm mad that I know this now. Anyway, going forward, continue.
So my initial thoughts, I've said this before, my impressions of Last of Us. Everyone walked away from Last of Us really liking Ellie, and I really liked Ellie. I did, but to me, and maybe it's just because there's more relatability, but to me, Joel was the star, not just because we played him, but because the whole game was about how he's actually the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the best intentions. Right. And that was just super interesting. And Ellie, to me, was less of, like, I didn't walk away from Last of Us being like, oh, man, I can't wait to play Ellie, you know? I liked her as a character, and I thought she served her purpose fine, but I just didn't have that feeling that a lot of other people did, where I walked away wanting to see Ellie, you know, grow up and become a badass. But I will say that after watching this new trailer, I'm really pleased with how they're giving her purpose. Like they are giving her reason for the anger that she has, and they are making it to where all the going out and killing and bloodlust makes sense. Right. And isn't just a way to showcase like like
her just
that
being
she
a badass,
is,
yeah.
but we're also seeing, we get to see why, and that's big for me with characters like that. Is if you're gonna go all in with a character just to make them go from like one role to the basically opposite role, which in this case it's not the opposite role. It makes sense. It's the natural progression for her to go from being the survivor that she was to being a killer. But I like that they're adding reason to it. And that reason, of course, being, or at least what they teased, is that it seems that her girlfriend, I guess,
Diane, I think is her name. Dinah,
something like that,
maybe something like that.
I don't know. She is killed and possibly worse in front of her.
Yeah. So I'm curious if I agree, based on the trailer, that is probably what happened.
Yeah.
But the fact that they just gave us that information, and they didn't really give us, it's implied. So either something really interesting is going to happen in the way that happens, or that didn't really happen. Like maybe she was just kidnapped. Maybe, I don't know. I'm very curious what's going to happen, because I think they're trying to lead us
something
one way.
happened. Yeah, something happened in that moment that lit her fire. And so it seems like maybe that's early game and we're getting her quest for revenge. Maybe she's trying to save her. I don't know. But it makes it, to me, I didn't really feel anything in the first trailer when we go from like, oh, we're going to go on a supply run to Ellie just killing everybody. But to me, having that knowledge of like what's driving her, that makes every single one of those gruesome scenes mean something. And that's what I've been waiting for. And so I'm invested now in Ellie's story. But the best part for me, moving on to the next big spoilery thing, is that the end of the trailer shows that Joel is in this game. Whether he's some kind of force ghost or whether he truly is alive, like they're suggesting, he's there.
Right.
Which I think we can both agree that he's probably not going to live to see the end of this game.
And it's funny that you mentioned he's a force ghost or whatever. Like, I would love for that to be the turnaround. I think he's alive at this point, and that he is alive.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to find out what has happened between them, because Ellie wasn't just like, oh my gosh, Joel, like, oh my gosh, I've missed you. Where have you been? Like, she was like, why are you here? And he was like, I'm not going to let you do this alone. So like, where has he been? What has happened between them? Is he just been a distant father? Has he just been, does she know what happened at the end of Last of Us? Like, what has happened? And I cannot wait. I mean, I cannot wait to see how that all unfolds.
And I really want Joel to be important. Like, I don't want them to just bring him in for a level or two and to have him get killed off just to incite an emotional response. That's lazy. That's like making him a sacrificial lamb to make Ellie's story more impactful, when Joel deserves a completion of his own, if that makes sense. Like, I want him to have an important role that influences the story as a whole, because he's a great character.
I mean, I totally see him sacrificing himself in some way to save Ellie.
Oh yeah.
Towards the end.
But I want that happening to feel right. And I think that it's easy to do it in such a way to where it would feel right, but I don't want them to do it just to give Ellie something else to fight for, if that makes sense. I want him doing that to be amidst the completion of his own arc, Does that make sense?
I mean, I see his arc being that, he lost his daughter, which was his world.
Right.
And Ellie kind of filled that gap. And so and he in some ways betrayed what she wanted for his own gain at the end of the first story. And so I think a good completion of his arc would be him selflessly giving himself to save her. Or even maybe he lets her do what she was supposed to do in the first game to begin with. I don't know.
The completion of Joel's arc would be finally laying down what he wants. Because the whole thing with Last of Us 1 was when you get down to it, he didn't spare Ellie for her. He spared her for him. He needed her more than she needed him. And that's really interesting. And so to complete his arc, to see him kind of finally give that up, give up this idea of almost selfishness that doomed humanity, to see him redeem himself in a way that would be good.
It's gonna be good. Let's talk about gameplay though. It looks really, really good. The bow play looks awesome. The new stealth. So Ellie has a jump button. You can jump as Ellie at any time. So there's no more ladders, no more finding ladders. She's got like a new level of stealth. So like you can crouch, but then she can also lay prone and like army crawl through grass and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple great gameplay shots that have been shared of like her like laying prone on her back with her bow, and she just like while laying like shoots somebody. I can't wait. It looks awesome. So that's all really fun. You were obviously later to the Last of Us game than I was.
Yeah.
The thing that people are talking about and griping about right now is the multiplayer not being included in Last of Us Part 2. I had no idea that there was multiplayer in Last of Us.
Yeah, it was like, my understanding, not a whole lot of people played it that I know of, but the people that did said it was a really cool multiplayer. Yeah, because it was like, I think it was 2 teams or like every man for himself or something, and like it was basically scavenging runs.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
It sounded cool, but it's kind of like with Uncharted 4 when it came out. It shipped. I don't know if it had the PvP at launch, but it was missing a co-op mode, which I believe 2 and 3 both launched with. And they added in later the survival mode that was really fun. So I would be really shocked if a Last of Us PvP or like online multiplayer mode was not in the post-launch content.
Well, and they've the folks making Last of Us, they've talked about. I think what really has people in a tizzy is that when they first announced Last of Us 2, they were saying that the multiplayer was coming back. And so people are like, oh, well, now you're backtracking on that. And what I've heard from like, or not heard, but like read in articles and reviews and stuff and interviews, like Neil Druckmann was talking about how they've made the game bigger and like they're trying to go further with the story and just have bigger moments, whatever. And when that all piled up, there wasn't enough room for the multiplayer anymore. And he was saying, like, we're going to take that work and do something with it. You'll see that come at some point, whether it's a different game or, what have you. So we're not losing that. It will come in a different form. You talking about it being some sort of launch content, Stephen, and kind of just to continue on our conversation of, why isn't this a PS5 title? Is this going to be re-released on PS5? Right. I totally buy that they would re-release this with the multiplayer mode on PS5. Yep. I mean, is that sleazy? If you really wanted it for multiplayer, then yeah. I don't give rats. I play Last of Us for the story. I can't wait to find out what happened there. So I don't know. It really just depends on where you're at with that. But anyway, is there anything else you want to talk about Last of Us? I'm so excited about
it. No, I'm excited for it. Looks great. I'm excited to see the implications of the story. It's gonna be good. Yeah, I'm
if you haven't played it and you got PS Plus, go play Last of Us. It's great.
Seriously, go play it. It will. The first 15 minutes of the game will make you cry.
It's great. It's a good game.
One of the most memorable video game sequences I've ever played is probably the first 10-15 minutes.
It's really good. Okay, so Steven, let's catch up. We've had a little bit of time. I'm gonna quickly blow through everything I want to talk about. Just because I've got a lot. I'm gonna start with Apple Arcade because that's probably the furthest thing away. And I know you have no thoughts on Apple Arcade because you're an Android.
Didn't even know what it was.
Didn't even know what it was. For those of you that may not know what Apple Arcade is basically Apple's answer to Google Stadia and other gaming subscription services, and basically just they want a piece of that pie. And mobile gaming is very, very popular. Whether you're in the camp of mobile gaming is not real gaming or whatever camp you're in, mobile gaming is popular. There are a lot of people making a lot of money on mobile games. So when Apple Arcade was first announced, I was just like, blah, don't need it, don't care, whatever. As more and more people started talking about it and getting hands-on with it, and we saw more games that were coming to it, what I think surprised me most was how many games I saw coming to it that I was thinking about getting on Switch. Case in point, there's this game called it's either Mutant Zone or Muta Zone. It's by House, or it's being published by House, the folks that did Untitled Goose Game. And it's basically kind of just a story game. It's got an interesting art style. It's something that I probably would have waited till it was on a sale on the Switch and would have gotten to just kind of play through. But if you get Apple Arcade, you have access to all of these games. So, even if it would have cost, say, $5 on the store, in the App Store, I probably wouldn't have done that. But because I'm paying $5 a month for whatever's in there, I'm going to play that. Another game that surprised me was What the Golf. Do you know anything about this game, Steven?
Never even heard of it.
I've wanted to do a Let's Play on it ever since I heard about it. It's basically, it's What the Golf, and the premise is you're golfing, but you're not golfing. And so, the very first level, it's a dude, he's got his golf club, he's got his ball, you do your little pressure thing, to how hard are you going to swing it, whatever. And he goes to make the swing, and when he swings, he goes flying forward, the golfer. And so your ball is the golfer, and you're trying to get him to the hole. And then there's another level where you're a golf ball, and you're being shot at, kind of like in Super Hot. But it's like Super Hot, where time moves when you move. So you hit, and as you move, bullets are flying to you. But if you hit somebody...
Did Donkey play this? Okay, then yes, I know what you're talking about.
Anyway, looks really fun. That's on Apple Arcade. So guess what, Steven? We're going to do a Let's Play of it on Apple Arcade because I have it now. It's been on Steam, and I've been waiting for it to come to another system, but it's coming to Apple Arcade, so we have it now. So anyway, all to say, I didn't like it, but then as I started to see oh man, these things are coming to it, and it's at that point this kind of my way of thinking about it shifted, which is I am not a big mobile gamer, mostly because any game that's worth playing on your mobile phone typically costs $2 or $3. And you know, the ones that you really hear about, people just saying, oh man, you got to try this. This is a great game, whatever. They usually cost a couple bucks. Are they worth it? That's, who am I to say? It's different for everybody. For me at the time, no. But what kind of twisted my thought on this was, if I can find one game in this library of games that I want to play enough to pay $5 for, then the whole thing's worth it. Because I'm not getting just that game. I'm getting so many games. And again, so many games that I was planning on getting on another system when they came, but I can just get it as part of the subscription. So anyway, for September it was free anyway, so I went ahead and did it. I have been blown away. I've loved it so far. I've played a ton of games. I've got games that I want us to do mobile Let's Plays on. Some ones I'll just talk about shortly. There's this game called Overland, which is a turn-based tactical strategy survival game where like you're trying to survive from zombies. And it's turn-based. It's very fun. It was coming to the Switch. Got it here. There's this Oceanhorn 2, which is kind of a Breath of the Wild knockoff that looks really, really good. I haven't played a ton of it on my phone because you can connect a PlayStation controller to your phone and play it that way. Wow. And so I've been waiting for a time to do that. Eventually, Apple Arcade's going to come to Apple TV. So I'm pretty much saving that for that point at this point. It's got Frogger TT, which is just kind of like a revamp of Frogger. Frogger's fun. What the Golf I talked about. There's this one game I can't wait to do a Let's Play of called Cricket Through the Ages. And it's literally just your two opponents, and you tap and hold to start swinging your arm. And you're either swinging your arm to throw something, or you have something in your hand to knock away what's being thrown at you. And it's kind of like a versus game. And so I'm really excited about that one. And then the one that really just like took up a lot of my time was this game called Outlanders. And it's kind of a village management game, not unlike something like Civilization or something even simpler than that. There's some older games I used to play on PC that I didn't even think of as a PC. It was just like a computer game, you know, where you're just kind of managing a village, trying to grow a population, whatever. Right. But it is so fun, and it's so easy on your phone. I have just been playing the fool out of that. In fact, I've pretty much beat it. I've got Mutazone on here, but I haven't started that yet. And then there was this other game, and I guess I deleted it because I beat it, and it's just done. But it was this really cool game where you're like a handy woman, and you're going around and you like fix different antiques. And it's this really, really relaxing game. It's called Assemble with Care. It's a story game first, like it's a narrative title where you're learning about the people that you're fixing this stuff. She's like in a town. She's only there for a couple days, and so she's making money by fixing people's stuff. And you focus on these two families. One is a father and a daughter, and one is two sisters. And basically you're fixing things for all these characters and learning kind of what they're dealing with and what's the real problem behind, this broken clock or whatever. But the gameplay is so satisfying because you're just taking things apart and looking at what's broken and trying to fix it with different pieces. I mean, it's very much a puzzle game. But it was really, really good. It's got a cute little story, like I said, it's a narrative game first. I wish they just had levels where you were just fixing things because the gameplay is fun enough. The story is cute. It's got a good message. But anyway, all that to say, I've been loving it. So there's tons of games on there that like I scrolled past and wasn't interested in that someone else might be. So if you're someone who's been looking at it or curious about it, go look at it. I think everyone gets a free. I don't know if September was just free for everybody or if everybody gets a free month to start or what. But definitely go try it, or at least look and see. Hey, I think I would play that. So try it. See if you can try it. I'll just keep going so I can get through everything that I have that I want to talk about. Untitled Goose Game.
I'm still here.
Are you still here?
I'm still here.
What do you think about Apple Arcade, Steven? You excited? You gonna get it?
No impression. I will never own an Apple device. Next.
Untitled Goose Game. I've been excited about this game for a long time. I don't know if I've been very vocal about it, but I've been tweeting House. I've been trying to get us an early access copy so we could do a live stream or a Let's Play of it. I understand now why they never answered my phone calls. You can beat this game in an hour. It is literally very, very small, but it's incredibly fun. The premise of the game is it's a pleasant day on the town, and you are a horrible goose. And so you are just a goose, and you're effing up the town. So there's like a gardener level that we did me and Leonce did a Let's Play of. There's like a street market level where you're, messing with some people in the street. There's 2 neighbors that you mess with, and then there's a cafe that you mess with. And then pretty much after that, you're at the final moment where you steal a bell from the town hall, and then you're just quickly running back to where you started. It's so fun. Yeah. It's a lot more puzzle oriented than I thought it would be. Because when you watch gameplay, you kind of think people like it gives you a to-do list, obviously. But I always felt like just watching it, I was like, oh, this is just kind of like things you can do, but like there's all sorts of stuff you can just goof around. And like, sure, you can goof around, but almost all the goose you can do. Say again.
Goose
around. Very nice. There's all this stuff you can do, but almost everything you can do is a checklist. There's a couple secret things, but again, it's secret checklist things that you could have done. Like me and Leonce were trying to lock the gardener in the garden, or out of the garden rather, and we just kind of gave up because we were trying to do the rest of the tasks. But that's a secret task. Like if you do that, that's like a bonus objective that you don't find out about these bonus objectives until you roll credits once. So I need to go back and try and figure out the secret objectives now. But anyway, it's really fun. Highly recommend it. I don't know if it's still only $15 on the Switch, but they're doing like a special deal where it's $15 for its launch window. But after that, it'll be $20. So, of course, they'll probably put it on sale again, but you never know. Get it while it is on sale. Yeah. Steven, I want to do a Let's Play with you and I playing through it. I'll let you kind of goose around and mess with some folks on the town, but we'll get there at some point. And then I still got 2 more things to talk about. Link's Awakening. That also came out Friday. Link's Awakening, when it was announced, I was like, oh man, this is really cute. This is a Zelda game that I never got to play. So I was really excited about it. Got it. I've been playing it. Been loving it. It's really cute. It's a lot of fun. I'm sure you talk about this a little bit in your review of Jedi Knight, Steven, but talking about just frustration of level design of like, where am I supposed to go? How do I get here? Like, right. I see this on the map, but I don't, like, obviously there's a puzzle to get here, but like, how am I supposed to know to go back to this one spot and talk to this one person? Like, how am I supposed to figure that out without just wandering around aimlessly? And I'm right. bumping into that with this game a lot because almost it's very much a Zelda game where you have different pieces of equipment like a hook shot or your shield or a boomerang where you cannot progress to a certain place in the map until you have this item. And so it's frustrating when you're trying to get somewhere because you see on your map, oh, hey, I'm supposed to go to this dungeon, but I need a hook shot to get there. Well, where do I get the hook shot? I assume it's in a dungeon, but that's the dungeon I'm trying to get to. So, and inevitably there's some person somewhere who there's this whole trading sequence that's going on in the game where like at the very beginning of the game, you get like a seashell or something and you talk to somebody and they're like, ooh, can I have that seashell? I'll give you a pineapple. And you trade, and then somebody else is going to want that pineapple, and they'll give you something else, and so on and so forth. So, like, almost inevitably after every dungeon, you're going to have to go find somebody that needs something so that you can progress to wherever the next area is. And so it's just very confusing because you don't always know where those people are going to be. And it's great because that encourages exploration, but it's really frustrating when, like, there are places you don't even know you can get to yet. Like, there was this one guy who's like on the top of this mountain that I got access to this mountain really early on in the game, but couldn't really do anything with it because I needed certain pieces of equipment or I couldn't climb high enough yet. And so there was some dude up there that like I just had I might have seen him once, but I didn't know I could go back to him yet. Anyway, that's my biggest frustration with it. But otherwise, it's been really, really fun.
Yeah.
The dungeons are different from normal Zelda dungeons, where it's kind of just you've got a little room and there's a little puzzle, and or sometimes there's not even a puzzle. It's just kill all the enemies in this room and keep moving. So it's very different, but I'm really, really enjoying it. And then of course all the Nintendo stuff kind of combining, like there's a Kirby in this game, there's a Chain Chomp, you can walk the Chain Chomp and like he fights for you and stuff. There's all sorts of really fun Nintendo callbacks that are happening, so yeah, it's just great.
That's cool.
Highly recommend it, Steven. I might have to let you borrow it or something to play because it's a lot of fun. And you played a ton of Zeldas? Like did you play Breath of the Wild?
Have I played a ton of Zeldas? You don't know who you're talking to. Yeah, I've played a few.
You need to try it. I got it as a cartridge, so I'll loan it to you once I beat it. Because I'm a friend. Anyway.
I appreciate it.
Okay. I think this is my last game. I'm going to make it my last game because I'm tired of talking.
Oh my gosh, you've got another one?
Look, seriously, there was so much that happened. Like Apple Arcade would have been a whole podcast last week, but then that just didn't work out. Okay, so here we go. Last game that I played, whenever Lee Allison's gone, and I have like 3 days, 3 nights that I'm not free, but like I don't have anything to do. I really like to break out the VR because I can take up the whole living room and I can just get real immersed and I can play, long hours of a campaign. So the reason I kind of was like, I'll pull that out this week was because Tuesday they talked about the LA Noire VR case files coming to PlayStation, and they were like, it's out today. And I was like, oh, that might be a fun thing to go through. But I wanted an experience that I could complete this week so I could just, I could beat it and move on. And so I looked into that, and as I was looking for that on the store, I saw that Groundhog Day, Like Father, Like Son, had come out and was out. And so for those of you that don't know, there's the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. Steven, have you ever seen it? You have? Okay. I haven't. So I really didn't know much about it. But there's that movie, and this is kind of a sequel to that, but in the form of a VR game. And much like the premise of the movie, your main character wakes up every day, the day before Groundhog Day, and basically has to relive that day until he makes it perfect for everyone around him. Yeah. And it's, I thought from a VR game, I was like, oh, that's a really fun premise. I want to try that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I spent 3 days as Phil Jr. in Puxatawny in Groundhog Day. And especially not knowing anything about the movie, I feel like if you were to play through this, Steven, especially if you enjoyed that movie, I feel like you would really...
Well, I mean, I would probably need to rewatch it because it's been years. I remember watching it when I was a kid, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, if you were somebody who really liked that movie, you would love this because I had never seen the movie, and I want to go watch it because I felt emotionally invested. And it could also be that I played this, 3 nights straight for several hours at a time. Yeah. So I was just very immersed. But you really get to like these characters and kind of identify with what's going on. There's actually one part that I almost cried. There's a part, I don't know, I haven't seen the movie, but apparently in the movie, Bill Murray tries to save some homeless man or something. And and this is, again, I have not seen it and I have not fact-checked this. This is just what I'm implying from the game. But apparently there's some homeless guy that he tries to save every day, and he can't save him. And finally, at some point, he just learns to let go. And I don't know if that's his last lesson or what, but that part in this game where that is kind of told to you made me almost cry because I was just like, what? This is so sad. Anyway, it's really, really fun. The gameplay is fun. PSVR is just sometimes it's flaky. At some point midway through the game, my right hand just decided it did not want to cooperate anymore. Like, literally, it looked like I had arthritis. Like, my hand was just constantly jittering. And there's several parts where accuracy is key. Like, there's a whole sequence where every day you're spray painting for this kid to try and make him think you're cool so he'll listen to you and not get arrested that night. But, like, you have to draw or spray paint inside lines. And as you progress through the days, you get better. And so you're drawing more detail, which just means there are smaller areas that need more precise aiming. Try doing that with our arthritis, okay? It's just like, no, this is not working. There's another part where you have to play the guitar, and you're strumming, and, like, you know, normally, like with Guitar Hero, you're pressing square or like green, red, blue, whatever. You're moving your hand that's like on the chords. You're moving it up and down to be on certain chords. But you're strumming, you have to be strumming down or up at certain parts to like land the key or the note, whatever.
Right.
And so when you have arthritis where your hand is literally just the whole time, that's really difficult to do. So I had a couple times where I probably could have beaten something in 1 or 2 tries, but I couldn't. There's another time where you have to chisel a statue, and I was doing it with like a hammer and a nail, and my hammer was in my arthritis hand, and I killed myself 4 or 5 times because he just whacked himself in the head, and it was just like, oh, okay, there you go. And it was really funny because my hand would disappear, and then it would come back, and I'd hear a thunk. And so it was like I was summoning my own hand back, and it just threw my head, you know. So anyway, but it was really fun if you got PSVR and you got a couple bucks and you've seen Groundhog Day and really liked that movie, I would recommend playing it. But anyway, that is all that I've been playing.
That's cool.
I've played so many things.
Oh, is that all?
Don't let me think about it because there might be something else, but I'm just, I don't want to even go there.
Yeah.
We've got Destiny.
Right.
Shadowkeep comes out Tuesday. I don't know if you really know that, Steven. That's tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
For people watching this live, that's tomorrow.
Destiny. That's right.
I'm excited to get back in it because we've taken a sabbatical from it, and I'm glad we did that, but I'm also nervous, but anyway. Okay, Steven, what have you been doing? I know you've been playing a lot of Jedi Knights. I know we've got a review of forward compatible review that's going to air right after this podcast, so stay tuned if you're watching live. But so I don't want you to give too much away from that review, but what, top level thoughts, where have you landed?
I won't talk about where I've landed. I'll just talk about more so the process.
Yeah, that's a better question.
It was fun.
What was the process like going through?
So I've explained this like 28 times this week, just because it's the nature of the beast. But basically, what we've done is we're doing this new segment for 1 week out of every month called Forward Compatible, where we take a game that I have not played in at least 5 years, and we talk about how I remember it, and then I stream that game for the whole week. And then once I've done all my streams, I review it, and that review is coming out at the end after this podcast. So all week, I think it was 6 streams that I did for JK2, and I think the shortest one was like an hour and a half long. So played a lot of JK2. That being said, it was really fun. It was very nostalgic. I was surprised with how much I didn't remember, though. Because there was a lot of stuff.
I only got to tune into a couple of the live streams, but one of the ones that I'm really glad I caught this moment live was you said, oh yeah, I remember all the cheat codes to this game. And like you opened it up and started typing one and was like, wait a minute, I need to look this up.
So there's one cheat code that you only input once, and it carries over to levels. So like the only time you ever have to input it is when you are
First starting out.
Like basically loading first starting out. And that's the cheat code that makes it to where the lightsaber damages things even without swinging, and that you can sever limbs. That's not in the base game. Although I did hear that there are cheat codes on the console versions.
There are. I've been looking at a couple of them.
You can probably do that one, and I recommend playing the game with that because it makes it more fun. But so, and of course, it was one of those things where literally the only cheat code that I don't pretty much know by heart because of all the times I put it in was that one cheat code, and that just happens to be the cheat code I was putting in. But it was nostalgic for me. There was a lot I didn't remember, but there was a lot where it was like, oh my gosh, I'm a kid again. And it was a lot of fun. I won't talk about where I landed here, just because the review is coming out. But definitely check out the review. I would love feedback on this whole process, because I know some of you, I think, were kind of fatigued by the time we got towards the back end, like where the ones of you that tuned in more so. It seemed like you guys were getting tired of Jedi Knight by the end of it, which is understandable.
We only streamed it like
it's the same
every
game
day
for a whole week. Yeah. So I would love some feedback on like how to maybe remedy that, or what to do. This week has felt very much like a soft launch. So we want to make sure that we can take everything we learned from this week into doing the one that we have planned for next month better. Yeah.
I'm really excited about next month.
So
I think it's going to be a great. Too. If you really do consider this kind of a dry run, a test run, I think next month is going to be an awesome, like, here we are. Like, this is the real first one. You know what I mean?
That's kind of how I'm thinking too. Which
we'll talk about it at some point, but not right now.
Yeah, we will. I don't know when we're gonna reveal that one. We honestly haven't even.
I was going to say, probably we need to at least pick out a week for it first, and then probably once we have that locked down, then we can maybe announce it. But anyway, we'll talk about it. It's going to be a good one, though.
Yes. But I appreciate those of you that have stuck with me this week. I know it's been a lot, but I've enjoyed the company. I've enjoyed getting to share kind of my memories with you guys, and that's we've known that. With what we do on the channel, I've been saying for a while that I wanted to do video game reviews. We tried it with Anthem, and it didn't work out, in my opinion, just because I wasn't prepared, and I got nervous, and the recording was off, and I just wanted to kind of take what we do well as a channel and apply that to video game reviews and what I do well as like a thought formulator, if that makes sense. So we really wanted to put live streaming at the forefront of our video game review process. So we wanted to kind of make this an experience that we share with you guys, because a lot of you have been very vocal. Like whenever we've asked what aspects of the channel work for you, most of you that have responded have said, like, we love the interaction. So we wanted to make it to where my video game reviewing process included you guys first and foremost. So moving forward, whenever we do forward compatible again, I would like to incorporate viewers to some extent. I don't know what that looks like yet. Again, I'd love to hear some ideas, but this is a thing we do together. And so just to let you guys know, that's kind of what we're going for. And I've really appreciated the company, because it helps me to have conversations while I'm playing the game. Because if someone says something to me, like they make a comment on how a certain force power works in JK2, I can talk it out and kind of verbalize my thought process and everything. It helps me. It actually helps my reviewing process. So I appreciate everything that you guys have done for tuning in. That's been really fun for me, and I've really enjoyed it.
Good.
So
yeah,
this has been good. I think I would consider it a success, and the review hasn't even come out yet. At the time of recording this,
at the time of recording this, I haven't even edited it yet. so we'll see how this looks at the end of this podcast. Yeah. But the plan is for it to come out right after this. So that's stay tuned. Yeah. Stay tuned for that. Did you want to talk about Divinity Original Sin? You said you've been playing it a little bit with Miles, and I know that means
I'll touch on it a little bit. Oh yeah, I'll touch on it a little bit just because I kind of want, like, a dream come true for me would be for you, me, Miles, and Brody to play this because it's 4-player co-op. And like it's one of those RPGs that like PS4. Yeah, it's one of those RPGs that a lot of people would consider too much RPG. Like when you start the game, and the game basically plays like a top-down RPG where when you're not in combat, you can walk around.
Once?
We did
and
this
I made a
once.
dwarf.
You made an undead dwarf that had a beard for some reason, even though he was a skeleton.
It's one of our better streams, I think, if I remember correctly.
The game is really hard to play on split screen, and that was the main problem we had because there was just so much going on. But when you play online, it's super manageable. Like, it doesn't feel like you're getting barraged with so much at once. But basically, you have you create your character, and they can be either a human, elf, lizard, dwarf, or an undead version of any of those. And even in the character creation screen, it matters, like, not just stat-wise, but what access you'll have in the rest of the game. For example,
I had to wear a bucket over my head because I was undead.
Yeah, you did. That's true. You did. So, for example, humans don't have anything that really set them apart, but I could make my human, like, one of his descriptor tags that he is an outlaw. So I'll have access to different dialogue being an outlaw. I might have friends in the underground, or a lawman might see me and be like, oh, I need to arrest you. Something like that. But when you get to the other races, that's where it gets more interesting, because in this game, for example, the undead, if you try to heal them with some kind of healing magic, it actually hurts them because it's life essence. But the undead heal from poison. So if there's a poison field and your undead character goes over there, it actually heals them. They can drink poison to heal themselves. So there is a skill set called polymorph. And in this playthrough that we're doing right now, there's a dwarf character you can recruit named Beast, and he's a dwarf pirate, and he's hilarious. He is our frontline character, so I'm upgrading him in, like, I forget what it's called, but basically like physical weapon arts. And then I decided that I was also going to give him polymorph. Polymorph is the skill set that makes it to where you can basically transmute parts of your body into other parts. So he can give himself bull horns for 5 turns to unlock a new move that lets him charge like a bull. He can give himself angel wings to fly around the map for 2 turns. He could give himself spider legs instead of angel wings to, like, shoot web and stuff. He can make his arm for 1 attack turn into a tentacle and slap people with it. But one of the cool things about this, and this is just, again, a lot of the detail in the game, polymorph also allows you to transmute your own skin. So you could unlock an ability that makes it to where your skin is made of fire. And so if you've got a fire mage with you, they could just make it rain fire and make it basically just an entire field where it's just an ember. And then you could transmute your skin to fire, and you could walk through it unharmed. But also, when you transmute that way, when you bleed fire.
He bleeds fire.
Like, literally, when a character gets hit by a physical attack, like, blood comes out. And then there's another skill set, necromancy, that can utilize blood in abilities. And they even have an ability where they can soak up blood on the ground to heal themselves every turn. But so let's say you were an undead character that uses polymorph. You could transmute your skin to be poison. Mm-hmm. Even though you would, I think this would work with undead. I haven't checked to see if this is a thing you can do. But that would make it to where when you bleed poison. So you're healing yourself with your own poison blood. Like, there's just crazy stuff like that you can do in this game. Like, there's one skill called Pet Pal, which is just something that a character can have that's not even combat related. It's just like a thing that they have. And my character is a conjurer, so I'm a summoner, and I've got Pet Pal, so I can talk to any animal in the game.
I want that.
So Miles, for example, who is a terrifying-looking noble lizard that uses blood magic, he talked to this dog. And you know what the dog said to him? Bark, bark, because it's a dog. I walked up to the dog, and his name was Buddy, and he introduced himself as Buddy. And he was just like, "Oh, you seem really nice, mister. Could you help me find my mate? These bad guys took her away from me, and I don't know what to do without her. I'm so sad. Here, have this key that I dug up down over here." And he walks over and digs up this key, and he's like, "Please let me know if you find her." And it's like, I got a quest from a dog to find his mate, and it's the most adorable thing ever. And I only got that because I had Pet Pal.
Right.
Additionally, elves. My character is an elf. In this universe, they consume flesh. They're not cannibals. They don't eat like living humans or anything. But when they eat the flesh of a living being, they get some of the memories of that being. So whenever you kill certain characters in this game, they may drop like a piece of their body, or like their head might be severed. Only elves can use those, and when they do, they can consume them, and they'll get dialogue or like a story piece that tells about that character, and sometimes they'll learn abilities that character knew because they get some of their memories. So like,
that's weird.
And I'm
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like, you'll like this story. When we first started the game, we washed up on the shore of Fort Joy, which is the first area, and Miles was exploring, looking for the first character to recruit, and I found this young boy, and he looks at me and he's like, "Well, get away from me, elf! I'm not supposed to talk to your kind," because each character handles characters differently depending on who they are, and so. I talked to him, and my choice dialogue that I selected was basically along the lines of, like, what have you heard about my kind? Like, why are you so scared? And this kid said, "I've heard that you guys eat people's pets and don't know the alphabet." And so I pretty much said to this kid, I was like, "Kid, I only eat you if you ask." So this kid was like, "Oh, okay, that's better." So
I thought you were gonna say, I don't eat pets. I eat you.
I eat kids. You have it all wrong. Oh man, but it's one of those games that you can really like. We haven't left the first area yet. We're only like level 4, and there's been so much deviation of what we can do. Like it is a true like sandbox RPG, not necessarily in the sense of like a sandbox world, like where you can go anywhere, anytime, but the world can be interacted with in so many different ways to where it feels like an endless amount of variation.
So if me and Brody were to join you, would we have to start a new campaign?
Yes, but we would be okay with that.
I might be interested. And okay. I also might be interested in just recording it. Like, not that we are, like, not in character, you know, not, like, trying to be funny. But I may just record it. And if something funny happens, I may just turn it into a Let's Play.
That'd be great. Well, like, the way magic works in this game, for example, because, like, you don't have set classes. You have a starting point. My starting point was Conjurer, and I'm going all in with that to where I summon things and can like upgrade the things that I summon, but also I've invested in hydrosophy, I think is what it's called, or hydromancy, I guess if you want to call it that, which is basically water magic. So I'm a healer. So I am a summoner that also heals, which synergizes really well. But the way it works is that any character can do anything, but they just have to invest points in that school of magic or skill set. So you could, in theory, be a archer character that is really big into fire magic.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be perched up shooting things, but then if there's like a big group, you could drop a meteor strike. Or if people are starting to get close to you, you could put a line of fire in front of you. So if they're going to get to you, they're going to hurt themselves doing it.
Right.
It really does offer you endless character options, and it's one of those games that like on paper, it's the perfect RPG.
Mm-hmm.
But I acknowledge that a lot of people aren't as much of a fan of the turn-based tactical style because it does feel like XCOM.
Was
it's
it
the
turn-based?
action point system.
I don't remember it being turn-based in what we played.
It's not outside of combat, but combat is turn-based.
Gotcha.
But it's the action point system where you've got, like, let's say 4 action points per turn, and action points are used to move certain distances or to use certain attacks and so on.
That's right.
So it's not Fire Emblem where you can move and attack. It's just you could spend all 4 action points moving, or you could stand still and do a lot of ranged attacks,
right?
Or something like that.
Right.
But it's really cheap right now. I think Miles got it for $15, something like that.
We might have to
I definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and it's one of those games that's just like we would have a blast playing this game as a big group. And I do agree, like, it could be fun to just kind of record it.
We just play it
and tell them
record, because I'm sure
we just play it. Yeah,
for the 4 of us, something hilarious would happen.
Yeah, just tell them like, hey, we're playing this, but like, I'm gonna record it, see if anything happens, like make a highlight reel or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'd probably be okay with that. But I would love that. Like, it is one of the perfect 4-player co-op games. So
sounds awesome.
Strong recommend.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Chortle Cast. We do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, there's a couple things you can do to help us out. Number one, if you're watching on YouTube, you're already at chortlegames.com, and you can like this video, you can share it with your friends, you can leave us a comment and let us know what you thought of the show. That really helps us out. If you're an audio listener, you can leave us a review. iTunes is the best place to do that. It helps people find the show, know that the show is good, and it really just helps us out. You can also follow us at Chortle Games on Facebook and Twitter. And you can also join our Discord, which you can get to in the description of this video or podcast. And then you can also get to it in the banner page on our channel. There's a little Discord icon. You can get there. We have all sorts of channels talking about games that we like to play. And we post memes. And we have a main chat where we just talk. And it's the best place to know when we're going live, because we'll normally get on there and say, hey, live stream's happening in 30 minutes or whatever. Or we'll post polls for what should be live streamed and all that sort of stuff. So join the Discord. It's a lot of fun. Steven, this isn't the only thing we do here on Chortle Games. We have tons of other content.
If you've been watching this week for the first time, I promise we don't just play one game.
We normally don't just play one game.
Yeah.
But on that note, Forward Compatible ends today. I know in the preview last week we talked about how the review would be done on Sunday. The way this particular week worked, that didn't work out. Maybe in the future we'll be able to make that happen, but it's going to post right after this podcast. And again, as a recording, I have not edited it, so let's see how truthful I am right now. But it's going to be airing shortly after this, hopefully. But that'll be Monday. Podcast airs every Monday at 12 o'clock Central Time, so we'll be doing this again next week. Same time, same place, same bat channel, all that good stuff. On Tuesdays and sometimes Thursdays, we do what we call tea time, where we play a co-op game. This week is Destiny Week. Shadowkeep comes out Tuesday. We're going to be streaming Destiny. The question is, are we streaming on Tuesday or Thursday? We don't know yet. We got some stuff that might be happening on Tuesday. That might interfere with the schedule, so it may have to be Thursday, but we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Again, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us in our Discord, join our Discord. That's the best way to know. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That's how you know when we're going live. But it's definitely going to be Destiny 2 this week, either Tuesday or Thursday. Wednesday is when we have our Let's Plays. This week, it's going to be me and Steven playing this really weird game called 100 Ways to Die. Do you remember playing this game, Steven? Yeah.
I do now, yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange. But anyway, it'll be funny. You'll enjoy it. And then we'll have a live stream Friday and Saturday, maybe. I'm shooting a wedding this weekend. Steven is going to Big Germ's wedding. Big Germ from 8-Bit Gamesters, who we do a lot of stuff with. He's going to his wedding. So we may not have any streams this weekend. I'm going to try to stream Friday, but it may be earlier in the day than normal. We're just going to see how that all fits together. And then there may not be a stream Saturday, just because we're all going to be at weddings and, yada, yada. But I'm sure Steven can post a video from Big Germ's wedding where he is making pancakes or something. I don't know. Do something goofy.
There'll be something.
There'll be something. Yeah. But anyway, that's going to be a good time. I hate that I'm missing that one, but I had this other wedding booked already, so it's the way it works, the way life works. But anyway, we'll hopefully be streaming Friday or Saturday. If this is your first time ever seeing us, we normally stream on Fridays and Saturdays, so you can always look for us there. But anyway, that's this week. Again, let us know what you think. Forward Compatible review is coming up. Let us know what you think about that and what you thought of this week, how that all worked. We're excited to see how this is going to grow and develop, and if it's going to be good. We think it went well so far, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So that's it for this week. We've talked for so long. I'm starting to ache, so we're going to let you go. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you next time.